Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. Collecting seeds from flowering annuals is easy and lets you grow the same plants again next year. Also, we'll talk about how to keep mice and rats out of your home. That's just ahead of the Family Plot Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today, Celeste Scott. Celeste is a UT Extension agent in Madison County, and Mr. D will be joining me later. Celeste.
Yes, sir.
Good to see you today.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me. It's
Thank
beautiful.
you for being here.
Outside in the garden. I'm so glad we're getting to be out here and use y'all's plants for some demos.
Yes, this is of course our Family Plot garden, and this is our butterfly garden. What do you think?
I love it. I was just commenting on all the pollinators that are on this autumn sedum right now. I see honeybees, carpenter bees, bumblebees, a wasp.
Yeah, wasp.
I mean, so many different types of pollinators out here. So this bed is doing what it's meant for.
That's what it's here for.
It's great.
All right, so what are you going to show us today?
Well, I thought that I would share a little bit with y'all about harvesting seed from some of our favorite flowers that we have in the garden.
Nice.
So, you know, it can be a little confusing. One of the frequent questions I get, folks who are wanting to save seed, is that they're not sure what the seed is. Like, where is the seed located?
I can understand that.
And that can be very confusing because think of all the different flower forms that we have. They are not all similar in structure or form, and it can be a little confusing on where you need to look for those seeds and what they can look like. So I thought that we would take this opportunity to just use some of the plants that y'all have here in this garden and show the viewers, you know, where to find those seeds.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
That sounds good to me.
So I wanted to start with these marigolds. They're in the bed right here behind us.
Okay.
Marigolds, it's one of those plants you either love them or you hate them, right? Some people don't like the smell of them. I really love the smell of them.
I think they're fine.
They are heat tolerant, drought tolerant. A lot of people like to use them as companion plants around their vegetables and other herbs. And they're a cute little flower. They can reseed themselves, but if you want to save the seeds and intentionally plant them somewhere in your garden, you're going to need to know where these seeds are located, right?
Okay.
So obviously most people would go to the flower.
Sure.
That's where we want to start with all of our seed locating adventures.
All right,
okay?
to the flower.
You need to go to the
All right.
flower. So that's where we're going to start here with, this one is in prime condition, right? Then you want to follow those petals, and I want people to start examining the flower structure. Look at what's underneath that flower petal. So here you can see we've got this swollen area. That's where the ovaries for this flower are. And as this flower begins to mature, those are going to continue to thicken and puff up, and we can see that here in this flower that has began to kind of crumble up its petals, lose its petals. I'm going to go ahead and pull those off so you can see what's happening underneath. So this is the ovary. This is the area that interests us for seed collection, okay?
Okay.
Because if each of those ovaries gets fertilized, it's going to turn into a seed.
Got it.
Okay? So I have a few others here that were a little farther along. Let me dump these off. This flower head, I would say, would be ready for us to break it open and harvest.
Okay.
You need to allow that to fully mature. You want it to dry, feel papery to the touch. You certainly don't want to harvest the seeds while they're still green. And you can see here as I crack that open, see how dark the seed is?
Yeah.
You can tell that it's no longer green and that those seeds have now changed in color and are darker here.
How about that? Yeah, very distinct.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah, that is neat.
And so, you know, if you're a lazy seed saver, which there's nothing wrong with that,
Nothing wrong with it, okay.
right? So it's easy for me to take these all out. That's the husk they were in. There's probably 50 seeds that came from this one flower. If you're a lazy flower seed saver, you could make sure that these were dry, leave them out for a day or two, and store them just like this. But if you want to clean them, that's understandable as well. So we have a couple different techniques for doing that. These were so dry that I was able just to pull that petal trash off, and this is the actual seed. So you see how pointy it
yeah.
is? The seed down here at the bottom, and then
Yeah.
this top part is part of the seeds. You don't have to clean that off. So I don't know if you have ever planted zinnias from seed.
Yes.
The entire thing,
Yes.
even the little papery outing is part of
Yeah.
the seed. And the same goes for these marigolds. So all you really have to do is pinch those dry petals off
Yeah, that comes off easy.
easily.
Yeah.
And you could have done that while they were still in a bunch, but I was trying to
Right.
hold this paper
Okay.
plate so that they could see it. Once you've done that, your seeds are clean and ready for storage
Ready to store. How
for
about
the next
that?
year.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see, what's another one that we want to look at that might be, oh look, I'm gonna seed those in your garden
Oh, how about that?
for
We'll
next
take
year.
that. Thank you,
Let's
Meg.
take a look at Rudbeckia seed head. Here, this is a beautiful
That is
cultivar
beautiful.
with that dark centers in it. Obviously, this flower is at its prime for enjoying in the garden and for, used as a cut flower. But if we're wanting to harvest the seed, these are not fully mature yet. What we want to look for are flower heads that are looking about like this. Now, once they begin to open up, I'd say this one is past its prime, and it's probably dropped a lot of its
Oh, wow.
seeds
Okay.
already.
I
See
see.
how easily they're
Yeah.
coming off? We want to collect them while that head is still kind of tight, but certainly dry.
Got it.
Okay? So I'm just going to pop that head off, and we'll kind of deconstruct it right here on this plate. So all the petals are already dried up. We're going to go ahead and pull those off. Easy way to detach these seeds from the seed heads, just take your fingers and just kind of give them a little brush with your thumb. Obviously, if you're inside, you won't lose as many as I'm probably losing right now. But we just want to give those a little,
Again, that's pretty easy, right?
give
Yeah,
those
do
a
that.
little tease.
Yeah.
And these seeds are much smaller
Man, they're
than our
small.
marigold seeds
Right.
are. And there are hundreds
My
in
goodness.
this seed head, okay? So you would just keep working at it to loosen those seeds from the seed
Wow.
head. And now I'm gonna go ahead and throw those parts down.
Yeah, those are so small.
So small. Each one of these teeny tiny linear pieces is a seed,
Wow.
okay? Every single one of them right here, every little line. And again, these have a little awn that's attached to them that helps them fly in the wind, catches
it.
the breeze, just
Right.
like we saw in the marigold, except about twice as small for these Rudbeckia seed. And so, we could do a little bit more cleaning on this. We could use a series of screens or sieves, or we could use, a light blowing technique. It's too windy out here
Yeah,
today to show
today,
that
right.
because the seed would blow away just as well as the chaff would. But definitely you could clean that up a little more, or you could store it just like this,
Yeah.
as long as you're planning on using it the following season. As long as it's dry,
As long as it's dry.
it shouldn't affect the seed storage viability.
That's a lot of seeds. What do you think the germination rate would be?
Well, if we harvest it at the opportune time,
Yeah.
I think we're going to be close to 90%. So that
good.
seed head that we just harvested. However, if you let them sit out past their peak maturity to that first seed head that
Right.
we looked at where it was already dropping seed,
Right.
once fully matured seed are exposed to 90-degree temperatures or above, their viability rate can start decreasing.
Okay.
So that's why we want to make sure the seed heads are dry,
Yeah.
but we don't want to leave them out there too long. Right.
Well, Celeste,
Yeah,
we appreciate that. What a great demonstration.
thank you.
I learn
And,
something new every time that you come to us.
and
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
good.
going to throw in before
Yeah,
we
throw it in
leave.
real quick. Yeah.
Cone flowers are very similar to Rudbeckia.
Okay.
So similar situation. The center of that flower is the part that you want to focus on for seed collection.
Okay.
Harvest that, use your thumb to break those seeds away.
So same method there.
Same method.
Okay.
You can see they have that same awn attached to the end of it. And again, that's where
it.
you need to look for the seeds.
That's where you look. Celeste, we can tell you love this so much.
I do,
We can just
I
go
do.
on and on
We
and
could
on.
do all of these, but we don't have time.
We don't have time, so thank you much, Celeste. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
This is goldenrod, also known as solidago, part of the aster family, and it blooms in the fall of the year, which is good for pollinators because it's something blooming when a lot of things is not blooming, and you'll see it along the sides of the roads. It grows with a stiff stalk. It's green until it starts blooming in the fall. So if you see something stiff growing up with these nice pointed leaves on it. I would leave it and see if it's not a solidago plant, because this is great for the fall blooms, for pollinators, and it's just something really pretty in the yard. This happens to bloom at the same time that ragweed does, and ragweed is not a solidago, ragweed is ambrosia. So they're completely different plants, but this one is blooming at the same time that everybody starts sneezing from the ragweed, but they are completely different plants, and this is not the culprit, but this is when they both bloom.
All right, Mr. D, let's get rid of those rodents. I see we have a table full of traps here.
We have an assortment. It's almost mind-boggling, the options that you have where mice are concerned.
Oh, man.
What I would prefer happen is that they not come in,
right,
where you don't have to
That's
use
right.
any of these, and you can use hardware cloth to prevent that from happening. But you know, mice, it's hard to believe, but mice, the bones in a mouse's skull are movable.
Oh, man.
And they have the ability to get through any hole that's larger than 1/4 of an inch.
Oh, boy.
And this is a 1/4 inch hardware cloth. So if you have a 1/4 inch hardware cloth, that will prevent a mouse from getting in there. I've got an example
Oh, boy.
of a 1/4 inch hole. So now they can't get through that 1/4 inch hole, but if it's any larger than the 1/4 inch hole that we have over here, then they can get through that. Rats, you know, even a big old rat, they also, you know, they're a rodent, and their skull bones are movable, and they can get through a hole that's larger than 1/2 inch. So, you know, you need to use solid aluminum or solid steel, or something that is a 1/4 inch or smaller, where hardware cloth is concerned, if you're going to try to use the exclusion method.
Okay.
Now, sometimes if you're using the exclusion method, you may be trapping them inside your house. So if that's the case, then you still got to go with these other options that we have here. There are several, we'll talk about traps first. There are several traps around. Somebody once said that if you build a better mouse trap, the world will be the path to your door. I don't know whether that happened to Mr. Victor, but this is a Victor mouse trap, and it's been around for 100 years, I understand. And I don't know, how many did you say had been sold?
1 billion.
1 billion of
1
these have been
billion.
sold. And I'm going to try to set one here without mashing my fingers, but I am going to put my glasses on.
Oh, yeah, do that.
I may get, will you hold this for me?
Yeah. Jump right in there and help you out.
Yeah. So I'm probably going to okay. And the way this trap works, you apply bait, and you know, my whole life we only had one kind of bait that we used, cheese. I'm not sure mice like cheese, but put a little piece, just a little bitty piece of cheese or a little bitty piece of peanut butter or something like that right there. And when Mr. Mouse comes along and touches it,
Gotcha.
so long, Mr. Mouse.
All right.
There are improved varieties. I hesitate to say improved. Maybe they're not improved. I don't know. I mean, that does the trick, I'm pretty sure. But there are other mouse traps out there. These are plastic. This one, I guess they get in there, they go around a bunch of corners, and you can actually see them in there because, you know, and they're looking out, trying to get out. So I guess that's actually this is a bait station. You put bait in here.
Right.
The mice go in there and eat it, so they can leave. They can leave. I guess they can see the bait, and so that would make them want to get in there, and they can leave. They'll eat and leave. I like using bait station. This is a larger bait station right here. This is really, is large enough. You can see it's plenty large that they even rats could get in there without any problem. That's probably at least a 2-inch hole, and it's got, you know, basically they can run all the way through there. Off to the side, I've got bait right here. They'll go in here, they'll eat the bait, and then they can leave. And the reason I like the bait stations is because some of these poisons are anticoagulants or that will make the rodents thirsty, and they're nice enough to eat your poison, and then they leave and go get a drink of water and die away from you. with this critter, you're going to have to deal with him. You're gonna have to, and if you use a trap that actually catches them, I encourage you to check your traps once a day at least.
Sure.
Because you don't want to leave them in there. You don't want to do the once a week thing, because you'll know, I mean, the good thing is you'll know that you've caught something because you can smell them. You can smell them when you get there.
That's right.
This is another example of one. This is a single-use trap. I'm not really sure how it works. Let me see if I can, I don't know how to trigger it.
There you go.
But apparently when you catch one, you just dispose of that.
Right.
I don't think there's any way to get the mouse out of there.
No, it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, so that
okay.
that's another type. This one I understand is a humane type mouse trap. Get it open here. Probably better put my glasses back on so I can get it put back together. You can see it's got a ramp, a little ramp that the little mice come and they'll walk up this ramp, and then apparently it will go back up, and it'll hold like a whole family of mice. You can put 3 or 4 mice in there, and the directions say take the mice at least 2 miles away and then release them. You know, I've got a couple other ideas about that. If you have anybody that has a cat, you know, or a pet snake, or something like that, that will pretty well guarantee that they won't march 2 miles back to your house and be back to your house before you get there. You know, but I mean, all kinds of traps here. This is a type of poison or toxicant, rodenticide, I think is the proper term to use. It's a kind of a little cake. I like the stations, the bait stations, because, I mean, to get into this bait station right here, you've got a key. You have to have a key to get in there, so you don't have to worry about kids or your pets getting into it. I like the bait stations because they're a little bit more secure. You know, I don't think a child would pick this up and eat it, but I caught my daughter eating dog food one time.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
And so, you know, you never know.
Yeah, the color makes it attractive for, you know, for kids.
That's right.
And this right here, this is what the Havoc is what I have inside this bait station. And actually, my granddaughter brought one of these little packets into my wife. I had one out in the garage, and she brought one in and said, "Can I eat this?"
Wow. Yeah.
And these type of packets, I'm not sure are available for homeowners. I purchased in a bucket at a co-op.
Okay.
You can get, I've got a pretty large bucket of these. I use quite a few of these, and I put them in my attic and under my house and things like that. But now I try not to put them where Lila can get to them.
Mr. D, is there going to be a danger to other animals, you know, with these poisons around?
I don't think so. I think the lethal dose that kills a rat or mice is probably too small to kill pets. I wouldn't, if you have pets, and if these critters go out and die out in the yard, I wouldn't let your pets eat them. You know, if your pets eat squirrels and rabbits and things like that, I'm not sure that they would, but I do know these products are toxic to dogs and cats.
Sure.
I don't think they will eat the bait, but they may chew on a critter that's dying, you know, in the process, but I don't think there's enough of a dose to be a problem. And I say that because as stringent and strong as EPA is, I don't think they would allow us to have them on the market if that was a danger.
Okay. Mr. D, we definitely appreciate that. And looking at that snap trap, voles. You get some voles with that too.
You're right.
That's right.
This works for voles.
Yeah,
All
it
of
works
this works for
voles.
voles.
How about that?
Right.
So there you have it. Thank you, Mr. D. Appreciate that.
These are a few tips for harvesting seed from vegetable crops that tend to have dried seed pods. The seed collection is a little easier, so if you allow that pod to dry on the vine, you can just pop those open. I'm doing an okra at the moment. And do it over a catchment container, bowl, pan, whatever your preference is. And in okra, they actually are stored in these linear cavities. So it might take you a few minutes. You just have to go around with your fingers, working each of those cavities open. Let me show you what I'm doing here. See, I've pulled that apart, and I'm just letting those seeds fall down into my catch container. Okay, and that really is the easiest technique for harvesting okra. You get very little trash or chaff in there mixed in with the seeds. You've got a pretty good collection right there, so you shouldn't have to do much more before you store these seeds in a breathable package and then put into an airtight container for storage.
All right, Celeste, here's our Q&A question segment.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, these are good.
Okay.
All right, so here's our first viewer email. My 30-year-old maple trees have large sections of leaves that are turning brown, drying up, and dying. It is happening over the majority of the tree. I tried checking for verticillium wilt by scraping the bark off some branches, but I don't think that was it. The trees get watered weekly when I water the lawn using irrigation water that can sometimes be salty and dirty. What might be stressing my maple trees? The irrigation water, not enough water, lack of nutrients, or possible disease. How can I help them? And this is Wendy from South Jordan, Utah. So how can we help Miss Wendy?
Well, from the pictures that we were looking at that she sent in along with that question, we were kind of leaning towards a leaf scorch type situation.
Definitely.
And basically what that means when you have a plant that's suffering from leaf scorch that's not being induced by a disease like a bacterial disease or a virus, general leaf scorch has to do with the uptake of water and the loss of water from the leaf surface. So that leaf surface, and think of a maple leaf, they're large.
Yeah,
and so
pretty
we've got a largely surface area there, and it's losing water right through respiration as that plant is recovering, and it just can't take up enough water to replace the water that's leaving from that leaf. And so then you get scorch, usually from the margins of the leaf inwards. And the veins will look okay, but then all that material, depending on how severe the situation is, you will have more or less margin of like necrosis, right? Like brownness around the edge of that leaf. And I think that we're kind of leaning towards that, just the availability of water and the ability of the plant to take it up. It was on a pretty narrow strip of ground with impervious surface on both sides, road, sidewalk. So that would probably be my first go-to.
That's definitely mine. Yeah, definitely environmental stresses, heat. Of course, wind plays a factor in that as well.
They're in Utah,
Right.
so we've got some exposure.
For
Definitely going to have the highlight and heat factor there
That's
in
for
the
sure.
summer.
And she did mention with the irrigation water, salty and dirty. That salt can build up over time.
It can
Right.
accumulate in those soils because they don't get a lot of rain like we do
That's
here.
right.
So they're not getting the rain to flush the salts out of the soil. So, I mean, it could definitely, be an option or a contributing factor.
That's right.
But I feel like the causation is just the ability of the plant to take up water.
I would agree with that. Make sure you're watering deeply, okay? Most people, when they irrigate their lawn, they're thinking, your grass is pretty much the same water I can use for.
And they have
for
some
your trees.
restrictions
Right.
on irrigation in Utah too. So, I mean, you have to consider where you are.
That's right. All right, so Ms. Wendy, we hope that helps you out. Thank you for the question and the pictures. Thank you much. All right, here's our next viewer email. A longtime friend gave me these garland lilies 40 years ago, and I want to bring them with me on my upcoming move to Memphis. Will they survive a Memphis winter in the ground, or do I need to put them in a pot? Also, if they need to be kept in a pot, what care will they require throughout the winter? And this is Pete from Rosedale, Mississippi. So, Pete, welcome to Memphis. All right, so garland lilies, but you know them by another name, right?
Yes, I did. I was so confused. I was like, I don't think I know what a garland
I know about
lily
ginger
is.
lilies.
And then I
Yeah.
felt so bad. And then I was
Yeah.
like, yes, that's. And then I looked at the picture and I was like, oh, that's what I call hardy ginger.
There we go.
And ginger lilies.
lilies,
Other
right.
people might refer to them as like butterfly ginger.
See?
I've heard
I didn't
people
know that.
refer to them
Okay.
as that. And I want to point out right on the front end that some ginger lilies are not hardy to zone 7.
Okay.
But I realize
Good.
parts of Memphis,
Good.
are warmer. Other parts of the Mid-South, even warmer.
Right.
So it depends on where you are
Okay.
how hardy they would be.
Okay.
But there is a white form and there's also a peach-colored form that and we common name hardy ginger.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I feel like his is probably going to be hardy in the ground.
I would think so.
Especially here in the Memphis area,
Yeah.
since this is where he's moving.
Right.
And then we would just have to be experimental if we went much further north to test out, to test the boundaries and just see, is this one of those that we put in that hardy ginger category, or is this one of
I like it.
the ones that are more tender?
Okay, yeah. Our zone here is 7B.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Okay. So I think
it should be fine.
Be fine, yeah.
And I love them. Also, they spread so well. You can share those with friends.
There you go.
Man, sometimes they spread to places where you don't even want them.
How about that?
But they're
Uh-oh.
beautiful, and they smell great.
They smell good. They do smell good, Pete. And one last thing, Pete did talk about, so putting them in pots. Could he put it in a pot if he wanted to and bring them?
Yeah, definitely.
Inside, put them in like a greenhouse garage or something like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you sure could. Just, you want to make sure that they don't go all winter without water. They
Good,
need some
good,
water.
good.
We don't want them to be wet.
Right.
Definitely wet and cold don't mix.
Okay.
But they need to have some moisture if you're going to bring them in somewhere.
There you have it, Pete. They smell good too. Again, welcome to Memphis.
Yay.
Appreciate the question. All right. So Celeste.
Yes.
Fun as always.
That's it already?
That's it.
Oh
That's
my
it
goodness.
already. Can you believe it?
Good questions.
No, so good. Thank you much. Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is familyplot@wkno.org, and the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. Thanks for watching. If you want to learn more about seed saving or keeping the critters out of your home, head on over to familyplotgarden.com. We have more information there about everything we talked about today. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.